Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the 8 warning signs that a job is a bad job. Have you ever wondered what the warning signs are? Have you ever wished that you could have known ahead of time that it was a horrible job before you took it? Well, you're not alone. 28 to 33% of employees have quit a job within the first 90 days. Yes, this video will provide insight as to what those warning signs are, that a job is not what it seems. And we're going to talk about what those warning signs are. So let's get into it. My name is Dawn Casey. With over 20 years of leading human resource departments and the recruitment function, I now help people with their career challenges, changes, and of course questions. This is the Career Rescue Coach YouTube channel. What makes this channel a little bit different is that I have been helping employees navigate the career waters for over 20 years, and also I've had a fair amount of luck myself, and I share that information throughout all my videos. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please don't forget to subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into our topic now and see what those 8 warning signs are. You know, earlier in my career, I was not aware of the warning signs throughout the interview process that a job was a bad job, and I got stuck in some pretty horrible jobs. I learned a lot from those experiences, and that's what I'm going to share with you on this video today. You know, I once interviewed for a company that I was told that the position would be supporting 5 people. Then in the second interview, the position was going to be reporting to 11 people, but for the same salary. In addition, they sat me down after the second interview and had me take a test that asked me 100 different ways whether I stole or was dishonest. After getting about halfway through the test, I decided I didn't appreciate this, and I picked up the test and I took it back to the interviewer, and I told them that if they had any concerns about my ethics, they could certainly talk to my references. I made a decision then and there that I didn't want to work for them. I felt they were dishonest throughout the process, and I didn't like how they handled the interview process. Surprisingly, they called me the next day and offered me the job. I told them that I would think about it and call them back because I wanted to formulate my rejection to them. I then called them back the next day and told them that I decided that I wasn't going to take the job. I told them how I didn't trust the process and what they told me throughout that interview process, and that overall I didn't feel like it was a good experience. They were shocked, but I was so glad I didn't take that job. I want to help you avoid these terrible mistakes and situations as you move forward. When going through the interview process, you'll want to look for these 8 signs of potentially bad jobs, or otherwise known as red flags. Red flags come up all the time, and people often brush them off, not trusting their own intuition. As part of the interview process, it's important that you ask a lot of questions and use your power of observation. Here are some red flags to look for. Number 1. Disorganized interview process. If during the process it seems very disorganized, or they've been late in getting back to you, or they've not followed through on their promises, it's not a good sign. It means they're disorganized internally, and it may carry out throughout the entire organization. Number 2, they consistently get bad reviews on Glassdoor and Indeed.com. Always, always, always check the reviews on a company to see how they rate. Be wary of consistently bad reviews. If employees make the effort to leave a bad review, there's most likely at least a grain of truth in that. A few bad reviews with predominantly good ones is not necessarily bad, but if the overall trend is bad, then buyer beware. I recently went on an interview at a company that had about 75% good reviews and just a few bad reviews. The bad reviews had to do with the changeover in management, or the change in management. When I went on the interview, I asked them about this, and what they told me was that all the management team had only been in place for 1 to 2 years, and they were indeed making changes. They were trying to make things better and got rid of some bad managers as well. So I was so glad I asked to it, but I was also really glad that I gave them an opportunity to speak to it, and I learned a lot, and it changed my perspective on the company. Number 3, the story changes from interview to interview. When the facts and information change from interview to interview, this is a big red flag. An example is if direct reports and the number changes, or who it reports to, or the circumstances of the position change, or why the last person has left the position changes between interviews. Be careful. If you have suspicions in this regard, simply ask questions and garner clarification. Number 4, people look unhappy when you interview and walk through the offices. Be sure to observe how people look in the office. Are they smiling? Are they friendly? Are they laughing? Are they interacting? Or is the office very quiet? Are people frowning and staying to themselves? Observe carefully the environment. Be sure to ask questions about the company culture and work environment to make sure that it's a good fit for you. Number 5, you experience the hard sell at the end of the interview process. Now, it is typical for employers to share the upside of working at their organization and all the benefits, but typically it's brief. However, if the sharing of the upside turns into this very hard sell or this intense sales pitch, this is another warning sign. It means they're desperate for someone in this position, and there may be underlying problems having to do with this position. Number 6, negotiating a salary is difficult. During the negotiation, the recruiter should remain friendly, easy, and open to work with. They should be willing to answer questions and get back to you in a timely manner as promised. If, however, they seem unwilling to negotiate or lowball you as to the initial offer, these things are warning signs. An employee should be willing to work with you on all your asks and give you a fair market value at the very least and a higher than average offer at your very best, if they truly want you. Now, if you experience issues in this process, be very cautious about moving forward. Really consider the offer carefully. I also want to mention at this juncture that if an employer offers a lower than market value salary, chances are they underpay their people in general. It's always a good idea to ask the recruiter when annual increases are done and what the average percentage increase was last year. This will truly give you insight as to how they pay and treat their employees. Number 7, the job duties seem unclear. If during the interviews the job duties or responsibilities seem jumbled or don't make sense, even after discussing them, this is not a good sign. All jobs should have a very clear job description. If the job ad and the discussion of the job duties don't seem to match, there's a problem with the job. As an example, if a job is an hourly position and includes manager duties, it's not labeled correctly. Or if a position has 2 titles, such as customer service lead / order fulfillment representative, which means it performs 2 jobs, and what they're wanting to do is pay 1 person for the job of 2. Be careful, as to this type of job will have issues with reporting and in workload. Number 8, always ask what happened to the last person in the role. If the person had left in less than a year, it's not a good sign. And if the last 2 people left in less than a year, avoid the job like the plague. Early in my career, I once reported to a manager where all previous people had quit before they even reached a year. I came into the role as a temp because the company was really struggling to fill the role. I liked the company and the people, so I took the position against my better judgment. As it turned out, the role was a great role. I really loved the job and the people I worked with. But guess what? I made it to exactly 1 year. The manager turned out to be a jerk. He was rude and inconsiderate. And after exactly 1 year, I did put in my notice and I quit. People had warned me against taking that position. I knew it. I just knew it wasn't going to be a great role, but I was hoping for the best. So I tell you what, I learned my lesson. I will never do that again. Here are some additional tips. Never make decisions out of desperation. Maybe you've been looking for a job for a while or have been unable to find a really decent job in your field. Whatever the case may be, making decisions out of desperation are always bad decisions. Anything that starts out bad usually ends up that way. Don't be afraid to turn down a bad job. If it doesn't feel right, trust your intuition. If you feel uncomfortable about the position, there's a reason. Figure out what that reason is. If you turn down a job where the interview process was really poor, be sure to share that with the recruiter as to why that is, so that they can change the process as they continue recruiting other candidates. They need to know that. Ask a lot of questions. It's important to really learn about the company and get a feeling as to how they operate and what their environment's like. I am always stumped when I was interviewing candidates when I asked at the end of the interview whether they had any questions, and then they told me no. A candidate should always, always have questions, especially if they want to avoid a bad job. Here are some reasons you really want to avoid those bad jobs. It costs you time. You may waste 90 days or more in a job that you are miserable in. Time you could be working and making progress in your career. Your time is precious, so don't waste it. It also causes undue stress. The amount of stress a job, or especially a bad job, causes is no small matter. Investigators have found that people reported persistent stress due to high work demands, low job security, and few job opportunities had the same risk for heart attacks, the same high risk as people who smoke or don't exercise. A really bad job is not worth your health. And it erodes self-confidence. A bad job experience can erode self-confidence. People take on the problems of the job when in reality the problem is the job. Continually working at a job that is not reasonable or has inherent issues can wear on someone's self-worth and confidence. And I tell you, it truly is not worth it. Simply don't take that job. We have talked about the 8 things to watch out for during the interview process. And we talked about some additional tips with regard to potentially bad jobs. And we've talked about some good reasons to avoid these bad jobs. If you have experienced one or more of these warning signs during your interview process, it is even more likely that this is a bad job. Consider it carefully. It is not worth your time, your career, your health, or your self-confidence. Thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe to this channel and push the bell. Be sure to check out my Career Rescue Coach Facebook page for great articles and to ask questions. Don't forget to check out my Pinterest as well as a blog that is coming very soon. Be sure to leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dawn Casey as a Career Rescue Coach. And remember, change your job, change your life. Be safe and be well.